It's not a question of who wins, Republican, Democrat.
Good evening, everyone. I'm
Joe,
Lindsay Davis.
myself.
Thanks so much for streaming with us. We've been listening to President Trump addressing the nation for the first time since the wee hours Wednesday morning. He's been making a lot of, frankly, false accusations, baseless claims, and that's not being partisan. That's just stating the fact. He has basically stated that he has claimed that he has won several states that simply have not been projected or called.
Cases, they're so one-sided. We're
watching President Trump speaking live from the White House, and we have to interrupt here because the president has made a number of false statements, including the notion that there has been fraudulent voting. There has been no evidence of that. Allegations by his campaign, but his campaign spokespeople unable to provide any evidence.
Okay, here we are again in the unusual position of not only interrupting the President of the United States, but correcting the President of the United States. There are no illegal votes that we know of. There has been no Trump victory that we know of.
Se está dentro ou não da margem, porque a qualquer momento ficou azul, gente. Ficou azul, a gente virou 284. Neste momento, temos 284 delegados para Joe Biden pela Pensilvânia.
Ficou azul, gente. Ficou azul, a gente virou 284. Neste momento, temos 284 delegados para Joe Biden pela Pensilvânia.
Então, o que eu tenho a dizer para vocês, nesse momento aqui, é o seguinte: eu gostaria só de que vocês viessem... Gente, presidente Joe Biden eleito neste momento. O que temos de informação sobre isso é o seguinte: a agência de notícias Associated Press acabou de projetar...
A agência de notícias Associated Press acabou de projetar
que Joe Biden foi eleito o novo presidente dos Estados Unidos.
A agência de notícias Associated Press acabou de projetar
marking the ballots. We filmed her a half hour ago during 6. She's still working at it. Let's stamp it, receive. Let's fill in our 6 blanks. All at the top of the tickets in each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's a security guard right there who's watching her. The cops are in on it.
My name is Brian McCaffrey. I'm a registered Democrat in the city of Philadelphia. Today, I'm at the Philadelphia Convention Center, and I am overseeing the ballot counters. I will let you know the corruption that is going on here. They will not allow us within 30 to 100 feet to supervise the ballots being counted. This is a coup against the President of the United States of America, and I want to call out the Mayor of Philadelphia, James Kenney, the Attorney General, Josh Shapiro, who tweeted that there's no way Donald Trump can win President of the United States of America, and also the District Attorney of Philadelphia, Larry Krasner. I can't believe what I'm seeing right before my eyes. This has nothing to do with Joe Biden or Donald Trump. This has to do with our democracy, and I will tell you, there is corruption at the highest level in the city of Philadelphia.
The postal inspector contacted you today in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
What did they say to you?
They asked me the same questions you asked me yesterday about what I'd seen and what I've heard, and were asking if I had any more information or whatnot.
You witnessed your supervisor backdating a ballot to November 3rd?
I did not witness them backdating it. I witnessed them talking about that.
What did you hear them say?
They were talking about how the day before, which was the 4th, they had postdated all but one of the ballots that were picked up as the 3rd, but they had one that they made a mistake and postmarked it the 4th.
You heard Robert Weisenbacher say this to Daryl, or Daryl say it? How did you hear it?
Robert was saying it to Daryl.
Robert was saying it to Daryl.
Yes.
They made a mistake on the ballot, and they should have backdated the November 4th ballot to November 3rd, correct?
Yes.
And you heard this, and since you did the interview with me in the shadows, what has happened to you at your employment? They were taking an action against you today?
Well, I'm not for sure, but they are bringing up stuff that happened like in the past.
So they brought up old allegations against you today that were already adjudicated, and they brought those up today?
Yes.
These inspectors have. What was the nature of your conversation with the post office officials that reached out to you today about our interview?
They said that I was. Well, because of certain factors, I was kind of implicated as the one who had came out. So they wanted to get my side of the story because they wanted to start an investigation into this. I think this comes from above them, and that's what I told the postal inspectors. I just think they were just doing what they're told. And, yeah.
If all this wasn't enough, in Antrim County, ballots were counted for Democrats that were meant for Republicans, causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates. The county clerk came forward and said tabulating software glitched and caused a miscalculation of the votes. Since then, we have now discovered that 47 counties use this same software in the same capacity. Antrim County had to hand count all of the ballots. And these counties that use this software need to closely examine their results for similar discrepancies. The people of Michigan deserve a transparent and open process.
I know this city has a sad history of voter fraud. After all, Joe Frazier is still voting here. Kind of hard since he died 5 years ago, but Joe continues to vote. If I recall correctly, Joe was a Republican, so maybe I shouldn't complain. But we should go see if Joe is voting Republican or Democrat now from the grave. Also, Will Smith's father has voted here twice since he died. I don't know how he votes because his vote is secret. In Philadelphia, they keep the votes of dead people secret. At least that is something that you can be commended for. Behind me are just a few of about, I'd say, 50 to 60 poll watchers who will all testify that they were uniformly, that they were uniformly deprived of their right to inspect any single part of the mail-in ballots. As you know, from the very beginning, the mail-in ballots were a source of some degree of skepticism, if not a lot of skepticism, as being innately prone to fraud. The New York Times had written that 10 years ago under other circumstances, but of course changed their mind once it was a situation involving President Trump. Congresswoman Jordan, in her vast and compendious review of various forms of voter fraud, cited mail-in ballots as the most prone to fraud. With all that, you would have expected there'd be a high degree of security and a high degree of inspection that would be provided for mail-in ballots. Instead, in the wisdom of the officials, Democrat officials here in the city that's been Democrat for 60 years and has a very long history of voter fraud, documented history of voter fraud, instead of going to a high degree of care to allow inspections of the mail-in ballots, there was no inspection of a single mail-in ballot. Those mail-in ballots could have been for anybody. Those mail-in ballots could have been for anybody they wrote in. Those mail-in ballots could have been written the day before by the Democratic Party hacks that were all over the convention center. What I'm saying to you is not a single one was inspected as the law required. Even when a court order was obtained to allow the Republican inspectors to get 6 feet closer, they moved the people counting the ballots 6 further feet away. It's really simple. If you have nothing to hide with these mail-in ballots, you allow inspection. I mean, this is common knowledge, common practice in the examination of absentee ballots, which happens all the time.
Well, I appreciate you being here today. Let me just give you one concrete example, not anecdotal, but concrete example of what we believe to be valid voter fraud in the state of Pennsylvania. I draw your attention to an obituary listed for one Denise Ondish in Allegheny County, born 9/10/1946, deceased 10/22/2020. Her application to vote was received on 10/23, the day after she died. It was then mailed by the county back to her on 10/24/2020, 2 days after she had legally passed away. And the ballot was then received back at the county office on November 2nd, 2020. And when you go to the Secretary of State's website today, it says that she voted in this election effective November 2nd, 2020, a full 9 days after Miss Ondish of Allegheny County passed away. This is not, excuse me, this is not empirical, this is not anecdotal. This is hard evidence, and if you do your jobs from the media, I'm sure you'll find additional examples, and this will be one of many that we will be filing with the court. Thank you very much.
So, this election has been won by Donald Trump. The Democrats are now in the process of completing what they started almost 5 years ago, which is the plan to stop him from being president of the United States by developing false charges of Russian collusion, continuing those as part of their struck insurance policy into a 4-year-long, 3 different investigations, $50 million process that went nowhere, that never had to happen. According to Brennan's letter to Obama, it was Hillary Clinton that developed that as a false charge in order to cover up her crimes with regard to her computer. So they went through all that. They did the whole Ukrainian thing against him, which now turns out, when you look at the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden computer, there was plenty of evidence that Joe Biden got a $14 million bribe in the Ukraine from Mykola Zlochevsky. In fact, that stuff's got to be pursued no matter what, win, lose, or draw. That's a bribery of a vice president of the United States on record, making that whole Ukrainian impeachment thing a complete farce. And now we're into phase 3 or 4, which is the plan they started developing months ago with this mail-in ballot thing, which is entirely unconstitutional. The mail-in ballots were going to be a way for the Democrats to regularize and make legal what they do illegal in many elections and in places like New York, Boston, Chicago. They hold back the vote, and Florida. They hold back the vote when we get down to these last 4 or 5%, like you see going on. And then somehow they find new ballots. In fact, in Milwaukee, while we were asleep, they found 138,000 new ballots, all for Biden. All for Biden. You think those were cast by real voters? You think they were cast by some Democrat sitting in a back room? This has been their plan all along. It is totally impossible, illogical, irrational that the same thing would happen in all 5 or 6 places where there were close votes. What do I mean by the same thing? I mean the thing that the gentleman in Philadelphia has given us an affidavit on, and we'll get many of them now. The man heading the delegation of Republicans that was supposed to observe the mail-in ballots was kept in a room for 21 hours where he had no ability to see the ballots. Explain that to you. That's been reversed now. We're going to still have to go to the Supreme Court with it because the damage has already been done. The end result of this, we've got similar conduct now, not allowing Republicans to observe the mail-in ballots. We've got it in Philadelphia. We've got it in Milwaukee. We've got it in Detroit. We've got it in Phoenix, Arizona, and we have it in both Las Vegas and Reno, as I told you. And those are all going to be pursued as part of separate and then long-term federal suits. Donald Trump won this election. The Democrats tried everything they could beforehand to stop him, including censorship. They couldn't. Now they've got one last chance, and that is what they're very good at, which is cheating on the vote count. But this time, this is a Republican Party and a president who fights for you because they want to take your vote away. They want the elites to determine our president. And we want the people of the United States to determine our president. And we will fight to make sure that your vote is counted and that your vote is not canceled out by an illegal vote. And we'll do whatever we have to do within the law to do that. That's because we have a president who cares about you. And they have a candidate who says, you don't deserve the right to know, and who announced, probably in a Freudian slip 2 days before, looking at the people, I'm going to win it without you. Yep, he's going to win it with the network heads, the big tech heads, and money that he's gotten from all kinds of places, including communist China. We're not going to let that happen. Thank you, and we'll be back in a few days with another Rudy's Common Sense.
Breaking news. Orange man bad.
Orange man bad.
Orange man.
Orange man.
Orange man.
Orange man bad. Diversity is our strength. Gender is a social construct. White people must be abolished. Real communism hasn't been tried yet. He will not divide us. This team is dehumanizing.
Why?